Hello, everyone. Welcome to BEC Talks. My name is Prince Khan, and I am the supervisor of the Brampton Entrepreneur Center. We are located at 41 George Street South in Brampton, and we help small business owners start, scale, and grow their businesses within our community. If you have a business venture you're looking to start or grow, visit us at www.brampton.ca/BEC for more amazing resources. Today, we have a very interesting topic from side hustle to real hustle. And we're going to be discussing with an individual I know really, really well, Jason Rhule, who will be talking about how he took his side business and turned it into a full-time venture. Jason Rhule is from Evolution Data, which is a division of the iLeague Group, Inc. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Jason, let's start with learning a little bit about yourself. Where did you come from, and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, no, thanks for that intro, Prince. Yeah, so Jason Rhule, born and raised in the Peel region. So I spent my formative years in Mississauga as a youngster, kind of growing up in the Air Mills area. And that's where I kind of learned, various passions, whether it be for basketball or sports or athletics and stuff along those lines. And also a passion for business. I don't know with the the way a path through Brampton and the integration between Brampton and Mississauga, but we always had a rivalry with Brampton from a sports perspective, and I think that rivalry always still exists, right? For sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Brampton, Mississauga are one of the leading regional communities in our GTA area, which is amazing. And I'm
Yeah.
happy to be part of it. And I'm happy you grew up in that part of the community as well. So, Jason, I know you started working from a corporate lens years and years ago, and then now you kind of have transitioned into a full-time business where you're doing your business, pretty much 9 to 5, if not more.
Yeah.
Uh, what inspired you to start your side hustle while working full-time?
Well, I think with a side hustle, what really inspired me to, and I guess we'll get into details on that whole story, but what inspired me just at the high level to have a side hustle while I was working a full-time 9 to 5 job was for the security to know that if the 9 to 5 job were to get downsized or realigned, or there was some other disruption, that I would still have something to fall back on to be able to provide for my family, to be able to give me a passion and desire to, work and attain to new things, but also gave me a little bit of diversity. You talk to investment folks and they always talk about not putting all your eggs in one basket. From a career perspective, it made sense to do that as well. So I started the side hustle just to kind of be a way to backstop any issues that may happen in a professional career.
No, that's an amazing reason, and I think that's why a lot of people nowadays they look to start their own side business just to make sure that they have some sort of contingency in place because you never know what can happen. And sometimes it's good to just earn your own income and learn how it is to be a business owner. So tell me this: at what point did you feel like this had the potential to be a full-time business?
Okay, well, let me jump into the story then, and
Yeah.
how we got to where um, I am today. So, I guess off of the bat, I think the initial thing that I guess gave me the confidence to have additional business and as well as my full-time business is I started off in enterprise sales. I was an enterprise sales executive for one of the large telco companies here in Canada, and I worked there for about 9, almost 10 years. And in that journey, what I learned was a lot of, how to work with customers, how to build relationships, how to understand customers' need sets and solve problems. So in that kind of space, what I did with that business or with that job is I learned all those excellent transferable skills and traits. And then as I went on in my career, I decided, what, maybe I'll give a break from sales. So I went off and did some consulting, which wasn't really for me. And then after I learned that consulting in the mobility space wasn't really my cup of tea, I went and worked for, I guess, the world's largest company right now. So I spent almost 2 years with them in a sales role. So I went back into sales. And again, it really didn't feel the passion because there's a lot of uncertainty about what our role was as sales professionals in that space. Because when you work for, the biggest company in the world, a lot of people will know you by name and not necessarily by capability. So you get the meeting because, why would they not take a meeting with you? But then you don't really add much value to the customer. And I felt that was flawed. So when that opportunity started to fade away, again, before it was concluded, I started laying seeds and talking to people about transitioning. And hey, what would it be like if I came to work for you? Or hey, what it would be like if I, worked at the bank? Because that was always a thing in the back of my mind. It's like, why not go work at the bank? It's like working for the government. So I made that transition and left that company and went and worked for one of the large banks here in Canada. And I think that is when, Prince, at that point, I was like, okay, you know what? This is good. The money is great, but, I still have a passion for sales. I still have a passion to um, turn customer problems into solutions. I still have a desire for that, build those relationships. So I approached a friend of mine who I had worked with way back when I worked for the telco company and said, "Hey, what's going on in the space? Like, what's happening? What's new and exciting?" And I found that there's this new thing called the machine-to-machine platform. I was like, "Well,
Mm.
what's that?" It's like, "Well, when you don't want to buy a phone and you just need a SIM card to connect something to the internet, you just buy the SIM card. You don't need the phone anymore." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And you put them in a modem and it can go anywhere and it connects to the internet and it uses a cellular network. I'm like, "Okay, cool. Tell me more about that." So I ended up starting a little business there. And my partner at the time, he was saying, well, there's a lot of customer problems that are not being solved by the carriers today. So hence, in there lies the business problem, right? I'm like, oh, okay, business problem, interesting. So then at that point, what I did with him is I said, well, any customer lead that you get or any customer that you have that has this problem, send them to me. So he started doing that. And then we established a business. He was a co-founder. I was the other founder. And I was still working full time at the bank. And I was doing this business on the side, after hours, evenings, weekends, whatever it may be, vacation. And then we got to the point where the business that was on the side was almost equal in pay or revenue possibility to my full-time job. So I'm like, okay, well, we created this. This thing can has legs. It allows me to have complete flexibility. So let's resign from the full-time primary job and then just do this and see where we go. So
And so I guess the revenue substitute was a huge factor for you in making that decision of moving forward, right?
100%, 100%.
So tell me this, Jason, how long did it take you then? Because obviously this wasn't done overnight. Your company didn't make the money that you needed overnight. So how long did it take you for to
Um,
make this company successful?
About 3.5 years, I think we got into a position where the initial use case for the side hustle companies, believe it or not, was my business partner at the time and I were like, well, if we can make enough money for a Porsche payment, then I think we're doing good. It was it was kind of not a selfish goal, kind of a vain goal that we had, because him and I wanted to. We were very into Porsches at the time. Well, who isn't, right?
Yeah,
But that's subsided now. I'm not much into them anymore because they're very expensive and hard to maintain, and very
probably
hard
gonna
to
get
get as
worse.
well.
Yeah, yeah.
So about 3 years, and the Porsche dream was squashed when I said, okay, well, instead of using this side hustle money to buy a Porsche, why don't I just use it to feed my family and not have to have two jobs? And unfortunately, my business partner was not in that same mind frame. And he maintained his full-time job and didn't want to cross over. So he ended up leaving the company um, in I think 2021. But yeah, the side hustle was very strong. Probably 3 years after we started, where the income was good enough for at least one of us to come over, and the other one to come over very shortly thereafter. But that wasn't in their plans, unfortunately.
Y- Yeah, that seems about the right time for most small businesses to actually start seeing some sort of traction in terms of profitability and success, which again aligned with your end goals, which was
Product
to
market fit, all that good stuff, right? Like it's tough out there, and I'm sure we'll get into this later, but there's a support for a reason in the ecosystem.
correct. So tell me, how did you balance the demand between your full-time job and your business? Because it is challenging to do both because you can't be working like a robot 24/7. How did you balance your time?
Well, luckily, the full-time job I had at the time offered flexibility. So work from home, work remote, work from anywhere. So it did give me an opportunity to be flexible with the hours I put in both angles. So, if I worked a security job or I worked like as a firefighter or, well, that's a bad example, but if I worked, a 9 to 5 job, then I would have very bad flexibility to be able to go off and take a customer call or visit a customer during business hours and stuff along those lines. But because my full-time job gave me some flexibility, I was able to do that, and it was almost because of the services that we offered, it was very set it and forget it. Now, again, I don't want to get into too much detail about machine to machine, which is called IoT now. It is a very much the customer needs the service, they need the connectivity, they buy it, and then you really don't need to handhold them after. So maybe that's a good point that we could share with the listeners that sometimes a side hustle is best done remotely or for a service that can be delivered remotely, and it makes the transition easier and makes the transition possible because you're not having it's like running two stores, right? Like you
Right.
can't be in two places at the same time. You have to be one or the other. So in order to have a proper split between the two, you have to hire somebody to be at one place. But if both stores were online, right, or virtual, then you
Very
could
true.
be that same place at the same time. So that's the other thing too. When you're picking a side hustle, pick something on the side, aside from your full-time job, that you can probably do remotely initially, and then maybe again in person or with a team or at an innovation center as you transition.
That's a great point, and I want to pick on that remote side a little bit more with you in terms of your biggest challenges with running a business that's remote. Obviously, running a business when you're in person and have to be there to please your clients, be it if you're doing basketball training or if you're running a retail shop, it's different demands. So, what were some challenges you faced as a remote worker within the space that you're in?
Um, Responsive time or response time.
Mm,
So, you know, when you are running a service business and a customer is not able to receive the service you're providing, it gets pretty sticky and you have to respond to them. We did have some issues early on where we, by accident, actually, our provider, because we were small at the time, had suspended our account and we didn't know. And it wasn't from a lack of paying a bill. It was because we had, they call it a runaway SIM, which exceeded, like, I think within our first 2 years, we had a customer that had a runaway SIM card that spent $150,000 and we were like, okay, we're out of business. Let's just back it up because that's exactly how much we have saved in the bank. That's how much they say we owe us. So let's just give them the money and close up shop and move on. It was an error on their part, so we got lucky, but they had shut us completely down. And this was in the middle of the day. So customer service and being able to respond when there is an issue is a potential drawback to running a side hustle or having a virtual business is just being responsive is important.
Great advice and no, very, very accurate. I feel that as a side hustler, somebody who's doing this, part time, sometimes you just don't have the time. It's, you're working full-time job, you have family, you have kids, you have all sorts of things going on that you just are not able to respond fast enough, and the competition sometimes will just basically eat your lunch, as one person has told me in
Yep.
the past. So how do you deal with the uncertainty and the risk then when you are transitioning in
Yeah.
areas? How did you do it?
It was tough. The uncertainty of not having the stable paycheck and the not having benefits was another potential challenge. The good thing about that is if you are in a relationship, if you're married, have a spouse, etc., or a husband, depending on who's listening, um, it's good to have a support system of somebody who does have some of those benefits if you have a family. If you're a solopreneur and it's just you, you live in your parents' basement, there's maybe not as much risk that you would have to take on around family, etc. But for myself, it was having a little bit of stability to be able to take that risk and go out and start this business because I knew that the fundamental things like, health benefits and stuff of that nature were taken care of for my family. So there is a little bit of partnering with your partner to be able to do that if you are a mature individual who has a family and responsibilities. It's good to have a little bit of support by a partner that you either work with or live with to help with that aspect. So it took away some of the risk, but there is always risk around will you fail? How sustainable is the business? Is the product market fit there? Are you solving the problem that you intended to solve initially? And then if you're not doing that, knowing that it's time to pivot and do new things, which we can get into later if there's time.
Yeah, that's great. And one of the key things I learned from that is, having the backup and the spouse or somebody there that can support you. And it all kind of revolves around the financials and it being just financially okay. So how did you ensure that you were ready to leave your job? Financially, you were set up for success. And in terms of financial planning, what would you recommend people do to ensure that they don't run into roadblocks once they leave their full-time job?
I guess the initial thing is to have up to 4 months of money saved, maybe even six if you're lucky, from the side hustle. So, for example, let's say the side hustle is generating $2,000 a month, and your income that you're bringing into your family is, let's say, 4,000 a month. What you want to do then is, as that income that you use to feed your family, the 4,000 is coming in, that just gets consumed by that. But then the 2,000, if you can save a portion of that profit for a nest egg or for, a rainy day fund or somewhere else, or invest it in some way so you have it available in case the side hustle revenue starts to decline, you're able to tap into that, take that 4 month ramp, 6 month ramp, actually ramp down the business, sell the business, whatever you need to do because you've transitioned at this point, and then either get another job, or start up another enterprise if the conditions are warrant. So from a financial planning perspective, try to have a little bit of a cushion so you can transition either back into a full-time job if that's what your desire is, or go back and start another business. Because at the end of the day, leaving your full-time job for your side hustle business is not looked upon as a crazy endeavor these days. The gig economy, the way now that revenue is attained, where people have five or six different gigs or jobs that they use to generate revenue. You leave a full-time job and go do that for 6 months, and then you want to get back into the workforce. It's not frowned upon. It's not said, "Oh, what's wrong with this guy? Started a business and he failed. Well, what a loser." No, well, by no means is that the case. You've gained some valuable skills that
Yeah,
you went out on your own to obtain, and then also as well, you know you could talk to any guru or anybody that you see their Instagram post is, sometimes you have to fail in order to succeed, right? You have to take that L in order to push yourself and actually get the eventual W. So there is no there's no shame in shooting your shot, as they say, and seeing if you can hack it. And if you can't, you're still gainfully employable. Like you're not worse off. You don't lose skills in the time that you've tried to start your own business. You actually gain some in actuality.
100%. And I think sometimes you just have to go out there and challenge yourself. And I don't believe in failure, I believe in challenges. I
100%.
think people have to go through that transition to help themselves grow and learn something new because otherwise you're going to do the same mundane tasks over and over again and you're not going to learn a new skill set,
Yeah.
which you may realize that, hey, this is actually something I'm good at. So mindset is a huge part of this, right? So how's your mindset sort of switched between the full time and the side hustle now?
Um, well, accountability is a big part of the mindset switch. In a full-time job, you're accountable for a certain task, a certain set of tasks, certain job description, or a certain role that you fit in the organization. So you have your accountability there. But when you're running your own business and you are accountable only to yourself, and your customers, because your customers are your bosses now at this point, right? You have a different shift set because when you're in a full-time role, you're accountable to your leadership. If you're in senior leadership, you're accountable to your shareholders, etc. But at the end of the day, the customer is what everybody else is accountable to, not you directly. Indirectly, you are, but not directly. As a business owner, your customers are your lifeblood. So you're directly accountable to them no matter what happens or goes on. Because if they're not happy and they're not spending money, then you're not growing and you're unable to stay in business. So from a mindset perspective, when you shift from being an employee to being a business owner, you have to really understand that, the customer is your lifeblood and the customer is the accountability engine that you need to map toward. And mindset wise, the aspect of accountability has to be very strong in you and know that at the end of the day, everything is your fault, right? Simple.
That's a great way to put it. Accountability is huge, and I appreciate you telling me that. And I feel like I need to be more accountable to certain things that I do in my life now. Just looking at this.
Yeah. Don't we
So
all, Prince? Accountability
yeah,
is
no,
yeah.
you really sold me on that idea. Last question for you, Jason. Do you have any advice outside of some of the things we talked about today that you want to let the listeners know?
Yeah, so I guess I look at this as what would I tell my 30-year-old self if I had a conversation with them now? Um, what I would say is, as you're starting your side hustle or as you're getting out there with your business, take advantage of the free resources that are available to you. Join the innovation centers. There's 13 of them across Ontario. I think I got maybe you're 11. Join the different Slack groups they have. Get involved in the community, the startup community. Every municipality that you live in, work in, etc., has an equivalent innovation group, a set of peers and mentors that you can learn from. So if you're interested in that, take that step. It's free. So again, if I told my 30-year-old self this, I would be more engaged and involved. Take advantage of mentors, people who have been there already, who have had the experiences, who want to give back, essentially. We've tapped into this so far late in our business, and I wish I had done it sooner because I think we'd be further ahead and it would have maybe helped us avoid some of the pitfalls and mistakes that we've made along the way by having an advisor or a mentor that can say, hey, no, Jason, don't do that. This is the right direction. Or, to build up your new product launch, make sure you have these factors in play. Because you can hire somebody, sure, like a business advisor or a business coach or whatever, but you don't have the money for that.
Right.
There are free resources available, so that would be my advice to somebody who's looking to transition from a full time to a side hustle, and they just want to see if there's a product market fit. Join the free stuff, get yourself engaged, involved. Find out what events are being held in your area. Get there, buy somebody a coffee, network, do all that stuff because there's no cost to any of it, but the amount of value you get from it can be invaluable. So that's my advice.
Absolutely. And that's where we come in. So that's a good segue into
It's a good segue, right? See,
yeah,
we
it's a good
planned this.
segue. You've been planting this entire time. So, Jason Rhule, thank you so much. Jason's from Evolution Data. If you're looking for more information on his business, feel free to reach out. And for our listeners today, if you have a business or are looking to accelerate or even are just interested in entrepreneurship, come see us at 41 George Street South in the Brampton Entrepreneur Center. We offer free, as Jason mentioned, business consultations, in-person seminars for entrepreneurs looking to up their game and grow their business. You can also visit us at www.brampton.ca/BEC. Stay tuned for the next episode and we'll see you then. Take care.